But my legs heavy, I don't get it. How come I haven't hit it already? Still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in it. I'll be popping off and hit your ass, dropping all your shit. Yeah, I promise this, I got promises. You ain't stopping this, cross my shit, you'll be knocked unconscious, bitch. That's the consequence, I got this, I will not quit. Man, I'm on it, honest, I'm gonna launch quick, then I'm gone. It's just a matter of time before I'm over the climb and moving under my prime. Just quit my 9 to 5, I'm rocking and they watching, cause it's shocking. Dropping all these top 10 songs, so stopping. It's time to live my life, it's time to live, not die. Wish I could slow down time and just enjoy the climb.
What is up, party people? So, let's get into the fun part of it. How you guys doing today, first of all? What's up to the people in the chat? Let me see, because I have vowed to myself to be a better host and actually pay attention to the fucking chat. So, that's what I shall do. Make sure it's doing this correctly. It doesn't look like it is. Please just make sure I get the chat into the live stream so that way it's over there. 1 second. And I will get into my very short rant. That should work. What's up, Fluffy Toke? What's up, Curve Pimp? How you doing, sir? How you doing, Curd? Let me see here. Okay, so a few things I wanted to talk about. For one, for all you Globers that are out there, be prepared. You're going to hear a term that's going to become quite annoying. It is experiences. It seems that they have grabbed onto a certain philosopher's argument and like to use the word experiences now, so you're going to hear that a lot. And it's kind of funny to me. Let's make sure that my audio is good. I had to play with some of the settings, so I'm kind of worried about whether or not you guys can hear me. So let me know that the settings are good to go so I can continue without worrying. I'm assuming you guys can hear me. Let me check my side. Alright, so one of the things I wanted to talk about that kind of aggravated me. I started hearing like bits and pieces of people saying shit like, I don't know, I don't think Jose's live chat's gonna last long. And this is right after, I think someone had an outburst or some shit. And the funny part is you guys are the ones who make these shows what they are. If you got a problem with, certain people or a way someone's running shit, just say something. Jose he reads all your guys' comments. He's there. He knows what's up. That, and also I'm gonna reach out and I'm gonna talk to him about how to moderate and things like that, because I've been around the debate scene a little bit more and actually debated myself, so I could see that he wants to definitely have the moderating role, and he's smart enough. He'll pick it up real quick. It's only a couple things I would even tell him. But what I really wanted to talk about is, again, I mean, at what point does disrespecting anybody get you anywhere? I listened to some fucking old dude on that channel scream his ass off every time he talked. And every time he talked, I don't think one person fucking heard him. Because no one wants to hear that shit, right? And then I know Sean Hawkins did a little like a little 5 minute upload, doing his little rant and shit. And I want to say, Sean, perfect. I commend you. Good job. If you got you want to rant and you want to rave and you want to be a negative person, do that shit on your own channel. I'm not saying you did it there. I said I'm actually commending you, Sean, because I think doing it on your channel and in the way Jose played it was excellent. And other than that, it's gonna be what it is. I mean, obviously, you guys have seen here, it happens. Main thing is that I wanted to talk to Jose about with it, and I've noticed here is the fact that it's who's on your panel. You actually, whether you guys want us to be as biased or non-biased, I'm sorry, as possible, and cater to everyone equally and all this shit. The reality of it is it actually matters who's on your panels. Um, I now have a pretty good idea who can't be on a panel together, who I don't want on a panel at all, and things like that. Because one of the main things you got to remember is that we're all fucking humans, and we all have that, we call it that trigger spot where like anything can go down. Just let's be ready for it. So I mean, can't blame them. Can't really, you know what I mean? You can't blame a person for being upset. They're passionate about what they're talking about, and especially when you're talking to somebody who really not giving you your view a time of day. It's kind of offensive, so you get upset. But at the same time, then you got to go, hey, whoever's doing that, you really need to be playing the trigger game, is what I call it. You're basically you're edging people to fucking attack at you. But I realize now it's a sport. It's we're now seeing a whole new realm of arguments, where instead of it being just flat Earth and globe, we're seeing different sides of different opinions of other things. And to boot with that, it's we're seeing completely different arguments coming into it when it comes to philosophy and all that other stuff. So I'm kind of preparing myself for that one. With that said, hardest thing that I've had to deal with so far is I can't find a fucking debate against a flat earther. Now, I don't mean how my panels are. Flat earthers come on, we talk and discuss back and forth, blah blah blah. I want to debate. I don't really think a moderator is necessary, but I want to not have to cater to other people on the panel while I discuss a one-on-one debate, like where I'm debunking what the hell you're saying type shit, and I'm prepared for it because realistically, anybody can jump on the panel right now and talk about any random conversation. And who the fuck am I to? I'm not prepared. I'm not psychic. So 1 second, take off my hat. There we go. Now I'm comfortable. So yeah, the chat's out there, the link's out there. Anyone who wants to pop on. What's up, Chris? How you doing, sir? What's up, Harry Wheeler? How you doing? What's up, Young? That's it so far. That's in the chat. Another thing that I want to talk about is like thinking maybe you should have less Arwen on. Now, of course, Arwen obviously has a free, every right to be on Jose's show as anyone, but I'd say anyone from that era, until they admit how rigged that fucking show is to just be triggering people, I think Arwen's there to rough it up. The same way if fucking somebody else from on that panel over there jumped on and made it their own narrative. All right, no worries, Chris. Hoping you'd be able to jump on because I kind of wanted to have a conversation about your atmosphere. No, I didn't. I don't think Arwen is the complete problem. I think it's the combination of people on the panel, and I do believe that Arwen goes there to make a commotion. I think he does. I have no doubt about that in my mind about it. Just My opinion. Not saying it's fact. What's up? I don't care. Your name is Tommy on here. What's up, Brummy? How you doing, sir? Hang on, sir. Hang on, because I don't think anyone right now. Second. Sounded my side. Talk real quick.
Check. Is that working? Can you hear me, Sean?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm gonna make sure everyone can hear you in the chat. My name's Tommy on
Okay.
here. What's up, Brummy? How you doing, sir? Been kind of acting funny lately. Hang on, sir. Hang on.
How you getting on, man?
Okay, yeah, you're good now.
Second. Good. Is nice and clear, is it?
Yeah, so far everything's good on my end. Is everyone in the chat though? I'm watching the chat, so if they say they can't hear you, I'll know right away.
Got a new microphone, man. So using it should be nice and perfect.
It sounds good. No, so last week, yeah, I can hear you. I'm gonna make sure last week, in the chat. I actually bought a mic with some donations that I got, and I didn't realize you need one of those what it's called a phantom.
Condenser.
I think is that what?
Phantom
Yeah,
power,
yeah. So I have a nice microphone. I just can't use it yet because I guess it sounds like complete shit. Like I tried it last 5 minutes of last stream I had, and it just sounded like crap. So it's on its way. Luckily, Amazon delivers next day.
Yeah, I don't know if my mic just sounded. I've been listening back to some of the shows, and my mic just sounds like shit, man. I just thought, fuck this. I might as well just bite the bullet because my old condenser microphone, because I produce a lot of music. So I had all the phantom power. I've been through that situation. You get home, you got your new mic, you think, yeah, I can't wait to plug it in, and then it says phantom power needed, and you're like, oh my god, you have to go and get a sound card or something.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think I think your watch page is in my echoing back through. Yeah, I can hear your echo. Yes, not me. It is you. Okay, so how you been, man? So I didn't try to stir some shit up in the chat, especially with Chris. He's a bitch. I can't stand that fucker right now. Not you, Chris Berry in the chat. We're talking
Scottish one.
Scottish Chris.
He's a bum licker. He's a proper arse licker. You know, like when I first got in the room, he was being nice to me, to be honest. Like I'll give him that. You know, when I first joined the server, he was just saying, you know, you're talking too much, and it's true. I do have that problem. But the way he came at me was a bit like, you know,
he owns the shit.
Yeah, I was like, fucking all right, mate. But yeah, he's basically fucking, you know, no one else can, any of the mods or anyone in that room that's like, you know, established can't do any wrong. You know, they're all fucking, you know, just takes their side regardless.
Yeah, it definitely takes a special something to call out a mod there. See, that's the thing that also it was odd when I first got there before I was a mod. What was happening was I was getting fucked with, and the difference between, you know, the way it was I gotta act like you don't give a fuck. I mean, I'm not saying you acted like you did, but if you act like you give a fuck there, that they're fucking with you, they'll do it more. I realized real quickly, a lot of the people there are ex-trolls, like not just regular trolls, like for real trolls. Like they were snipers, like obviously Chris has fucking issues. And I don't care about saying his name because I think he's a dickhead and he's a hypocrite when he does that shit. But yeah, I mean, fucking dumbass, he snipes people. He's been doing that stupid shit on like Nathan's show forever. You don't like it, Chris? Fuck you. I don't really care. You're kind of a loser. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know, he constantly just tries to wind people up. Constantly just texts all the mod sides and proper arse licking. And like, don't get me wrong, like Gem Panda, top guy. He's really good at debating. He's got a really good opinion on things. Me and him have never crossed paths before. But you know, anytime he wants to scream and shout down the mic, we all listen to it. No one says fuck all to him because obviously it's his server and he's a mod.
Oh yeah. Well, I know exactly what you're talking about. So when he gets heated, I think it was with Slick, right?
He's been a few different people. I've heard it a few times.
Yeah, you're right, and I think that's kind of normal though. I don't. I wouldn't expect any of my mods in my Discord to ever mute me. Kind of see how that's kind. I mean, that's kind of one sided. And but to say go against them though, that's not true because I've heard plenty of us go against them. I've gone against them a few times.
Okay, I've never. Well,
It doesn't
when
happen
it come
often.
across me, in the sense like I never said a thing, to that Q. I think Channel Q's a nice girl, but I was arguing about this vaccine stuff and some of the claims she made that were a bit stupid. And obviously, you know me, I'll go all in. And I never like screamed and shouted at her. She literally sat there screaming at me for like 5-10 minutes. I never said a thing. Some girl interjected, started giving her abuse. Jen Panda comes in. I'm fucking had enough of this conversation. Stop fucking insulting people. Rah rah rah. And I'm thinking, all right, fair enough. Yeah, that I never insulted anyone anyway. So when I started talking, he immediately shut me down. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I haven't fucking insulted one person. Then he mutes me. So I'm sitting there pissed off. He's muted me for no fucking reason. Then he's saying, well, I'll unmute you now. It's like trying to get me to behave. Thinking, fuck you. Like, you've come in here and muted me, and I've done fuck all wrong. Do you know what I mean? You got to fucking hear me out. He muted me again. And that's when I just went, fuck you and your server.
But see, Bremy, here's the problem. You do have a way, and you know damn well you do have a way of just getting under people's skin, and you don't think maybe that played a part in it? I mean, I wasn't there, so I have no idea.
Absolutely. Well, sure. Look how many times me and you bang heads, and you always say to me, "Bill, if you carry on, I'll fucking mute your ass in a minute." And you'd never do. In the end of the day, you had more reason to mute me than anybody. And
yeah. Well, see, that's also the one thing I try. I fuck with Hellboy. Hellboy, I can give a shit less. I'll lose my mod status over there just to mute Hellboy whenever the fuck I want. I don't care. I don't want to hear him. I think he's the most annoying troll on earth. But if I mute somebody, it has to be for a reason. That's why when I do things like I won't mute Debbie, mainly because when she says I muted her, I can only so I can say fuck you. I've never muted you once. But for the most part, there's maybe I'm not gonna say it's definitely not all of them, but there's maybe one or two mods there that let's say really take that shit to their heads and it's obvious. But
it's power trip, man. It's like literally like Brummy, I'm fucking talking now, you're muted. It's like, mate, I never fucking insulted her once. I never got to say, look, channel, I think you're a nice girl. I started complimenting her and he muted me while I was complimenting her. I was trying to so his way of sorting out is mute everybody, everyone do as they say, you know what I mean? And my way was like, I'm going to talk to her and say, sorry, we're not going to continue the conversation or whatever. But I never even got a chance to say, like, Q, I think you're a nice girl. I think fucking, this situation, I've got no hard feelings towards it, but yeah, I do think you're wrong in this situation. And that would have been it. I'd be able to put it to bed. But the fact that he cut me off and then accused me of everything that he's been going mad about. He was going mad about people insulting people, not fucking complimenting people, and not that I never said it. I never. If you watch back the recording, I didn't fucking say fuck all to her. Didn't insult her once the entire time. I just said anybody who thinks that fucking vaccines are harmful, are basically, they're a bit stupid, aren't they? Because you've got no evidence to support that. There's so many variables that could be responsible for people's bad reactions to things. It could be just normal.
Yeah, but at the same time, when it comes to vaccines, and again, this is probably the least knowledgeable topic I really know, but the one thing that I always questioned and had a real issue with was infants. So my son, I didn't get his when he was born. We didn't give him any vaccinations, and the reason being is you can test something on an adult and have an idea of what it will do to a child. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But how do you test an infant to see if that shit is okay for him? And that was my only gripe. Is my only real gripe with vaccines. When it comes to infants, but I don't know enough to really say much.
Well, that's the thing. She made a claim saying that they are harmful, and I think so peanut butter, so's fucking bees. Some people die from a bee sting, and I do think you got a point there when it goes on infants, and they haven't really built their immune system up, and we're already giving them stuff and that. But I mean, I have a lot of faith and a lot of trust in people. Like for example, if I am a professional, I don't know, mechanic. Let's just keep it easy. If I'm a mechanic and somebody comes up and that's never worked on a car and tells me how to do my job, it's like the arrogance of these people. And they're like, yeah, well, they're just trying to rip you off, and they're just, they're trying to earn money off it. Obviously, a mechanic needs to earn money, and obviously, he's not going to pay for his time and his effort. And he's, you're not paying the mechanic to do the job that he's doing. You're also paying the mechanic all the education and preparation and time out of his day to learn them skills to fix your car.
Well, you got to remember in that aspect of it, it doesn't take a majority of mechanics to rip people off. It only takes a few, and then word of mouth gets, you know what I mean? It's like kind of like a police. One, there could be 20 cops that will shoot a kid, right? And I know I'm just throwing it off the cuff.
Yeah. I know
But that doesn't mean the rest of the cops are all fucking assholes like that. And that's kind of like how it kind of works. You know what I mean? When it comes down to the vaccine world, where it's like, it only takes one or two, doctors that fucked up to make doctors look stupid, or one or two vaccines to have gone wrong. Something gone wrong with it, and that could just blow the whole story.
Everybody with the same brush, then they brand all people in that field the same, just because this is true. This is very true. Like the reputation, like everybody, and that's what you find sad, because one person that does something bad, you shouldn't brandish the entire people who are in that field as shit at that particular that trade. But vaccines are proven to have saved millions and millions of lives, and eradicated and got rid of a lot of diseases and infections, or whatever they want to call them, viruses. They've managed to save millions of lives, and I feel like she's just spitting in the face of this because it's another conspiracy that people are jumping all over. And it's like, calm down a bit. Like, you don't say you don't say these things because you ain't qualified to be making these statements. And when I have spoken to people that are educated and are have these qualifications and experience, they put it quite simply: why haven't we got this no more? Why are we dying from this? Why are we dying from that? Vaccines vaccines work, regardless.
Yeah, but okay, so you remember how it only takes a few, right, to really spark the fire under someone's ass about this stuff. So there are certain things that, like, people that research it will find, and this is kind of why people say to research, and you kind of go, well, I know what I know, and I think that's enough to prove it. But there's always little things inside. So like, right now I'm kind of looking for through my files, and I came across like a lot of, like, I'll put it in the chat, or actually I'll share it in here. A lot of situations where like these journals are found, and people like read things like what I'm about to share now. So this is a journal, and in this journal, this is a medical journal, mind you. This is from the Journal of Thermal Spray Technology, Volume 26, Best Awards. So this is a journal that came out, and it was talking about, what if we thought about spraying vaccines out of planes to vaccinate people? Okay. Now, and like I said, it's really realistically few and far between, but they're there. That's the problem.
You're not presenting that to the oh, you are actually.
Yeah, I am now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to find it.
What that means now, that's like people will run that with chemtrails. People will just incite that with chemtrails. A lot of the spraying chemicals on us now. Mm-hmm. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Because I mean, all you got to see is one journal, and like I said, there's a lot of these journals. I mean, the ones I'm picking right now, I'm just randomly picking because I didn't think I was going to be doing this, but if I had time, I'd find the ones I actually have in my bookmarks. It's like these top what medical journals talking about spraying. I'm trying to find some right now, but yeah, I mean, it's not just as cut and dry as they're just crazy and they think they're spraying vaccines over our heads for no reason. I mean, we got to remember, every conspiracy has some backing to it. There's a reason why it's something.
Yeah.
Trying to find a better one. I'm probably going to do a better search.
I'll take your word for it. I don't think you're going to... I definitely see the point you're trying to make as well.
And it goes both ways. And it's not just with vaccines. It kind of does... This kind of also plays into... talking about the Earth, globe versus flat Earth thing. you always got to remember. So if we're talking about going to space, for instance. Yeah, you guys were talking about Apollo. Going to the moon and everything. What I heard from you is like you have the same concerns with the moon landing as I do, because I'm not really 100% yet. But when it comes to like the radiation belts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is the way you described it, I could tell you've looked into it, but it's not obviously not your main research or anything like that.
Yeah.
And in the sense of when you did it, it was cool because the guy that was on and he was answering questions. But if you were debating or arguing with a flat earther about going to space or just being in space, the second you do that shit, they're gonna eat you up, and then that's when the arguing starts. And
I just went on that 24/7 flat Earth debate room. And there was about fucking like 8 of them, like fucking hardcore flat earthers, and I just kind of keep it simple, ask a simple question, a couple of simple questions, and they just started reeling off the same rhetoric. All of them did. Oh, you need a ball for the girl. You need a ball for this. You need this for the ball. Calm down. Only said right that without gravity, your moon can't be flying around. You've got no answer for your moon, right? They say, oh, well, it could be quantum locking. I goes, well, then you're in saying that the moon is magnetic, or you're making a claim. No, it's just a story. So what you're saying is you don't know why the moon is flying around, but yet there's no gravity. And he goes, yeah, but you need gravity of the ball. He goes, look, my proof of gravity is that things accelerate towards the floor. No, that acceleration is a proof of a force to me, and it's simple as that. I mean, I don't want to go into all the. Then they start going explain gravity, explain. Let's not red hair the conversation. You asked me to prove gravity to you, and I'm proving to you that there's a force towards the Earth because there's an acceleration. It's as simple as that. There is an acceleration that we can observe with our eyes, and because of that reason, there's an acceleration towards the Earth. Therefore, gravity for me, and if you haven't got a better answer to why it's accelerated to the floor, gravity is the only explanation. They goes, oh, well, it's just denser than it's the air around. It goes, well, density and buoyancy has been debunked, so we know it's not density and buoyancy. So what else could it be? And then they just wouldn't answer the question, and they started coming out of all the bullshit. And I just thought, you know what? I've seen this shit before. I've been down this road 100 times. I'm not going to argue with you all. I'm just going to say that there isn't the problem with the information. It's just a problem with your interpretation of things. It's like, why don't planes bend down when it travels over the Earth? And you know with me, Sean. Like,
wait, you lasted that long there?
Yeah, man, they muted me after, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, put it this way: if I go in there, I'll probably be attacked from all sides. I don't know why they hate me so damn much, but those fuckers have a real hatred for me. I mean, it's like on the crazy level. Like they hate me.
Another thing is what I said to them is what was the thing I says, like, they was asking me questions. Oh, what's gravity? Name gravity. And I goes, what you guys are doing, you're provoking me to give you the answer that you already know to the question, and then acting surprised when I say what it is. It's no trick. You asked me to explain gravity, what gravity is. I'm going to say mass attracts mass. They're all going to laugh. It's the same shit. Like, yeah. Obviously, if I ask you what's 2 add 2 and you say 4 and I go ha ha ha, well, obviously, there's only fucking one answer to 2 plus 2.
But don't you? Isn't that kind of your style?
What?
Or you rather just laugh at them and all that shit?
I sound triggered, don't I? Like the way I talk is quite passionate, and I'm not that. I'm not triggered. Like I just say it like that's how I talk. I don't talk like I'm not going to pretend that it's all a joke and this, that, and that. Like that's other people to do. Like if other people want to like take the humorous route, that's fine. If people want to think that I'm triggered because I talk hot-headed, then that's good for them. Like I know I'm fine. I'm still going to carry my life. I'm going to cook myself some food and have a drink, play some computer, go to work, same as everyone else. I'm not going to cry about it.
Okay. So I have a better question. Are you here? Like when I say here, are you here like in this debate forum, that we're in, server and everything? Do you think you're gonna prove it to somebody, or do you just want to make them know you're smarter?
At first, I thought I could probably help. You think to yourself, I could go to a rational person, speak to them, have a conversation, explain where they're wrong, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, I see what you mean," and then that would be the end of it. But I've realised that isn't the end of it. These guys. They ain't ever going to change their mind. It's basically I've got more chance of probably convincing a Muslim to leave his religion or a Christian to leave.
Damn.
It's the same thing that they have a faith. It's not built on facts. Now, the reason that these flat earthers the reason these flat earthers are never going to change their mind is because it's not an evidence based system. Because the only evidence they have is the observation. That they have nothing more but an observation of looking at flat and experiencing it flat. But what they're experiencing and they're observing isn't a contradiction to what the heliocentric model is claiming. Do you know what I mean? It isn't. What, go on.
No, I was agreeing. Go ahead, keep going.
Oh yeah. So what the heliocentric model is claiming is it's a very large ball, and they tested me as soon as I went in the room. The first few questions they asked me is, "How big's the Earth? How fast are we moving? How fast are we traveling around the solar system?" And I was like, these questions. Like, they're just, first of all, they're trying to test how smart you are,
Yeah.
and then they'll just bring out all the same bullshit. It's like it's sad, really, but. No, I mean, my intention was when I first started, it was to clear up a few things, explain things, and hopefully for them to come to the reality of it. But now, why do I do it now? I mean, it's a good pastime, and not everybody that you're speaking to is the person that's listening. So, for example, some of the people that are listening, that might be on the fence, or or might be having any doubts. Maybe that they could be helped by hearing people that like us that can coherently explain their misconceptions and what's wrong with them. And then they can make a decision for themselves or what it is. But I think, like yourself, you was a flat earther, but you was always honest with yourself, so you was able to come out of it because the fact that you never really, you're not a sheep, you know what I'm saying, or you haven't got this emotional attachment to the having to be flat in order to therefore to God exist, or you haven't got a vendetta against science or whatever. Maybe you I don't know exactly you off by heart, but I assume the reason anyone that is honest with themselves will come out of flat Earth.
Yeah, it definitely worries me to think of how other people think of it and what it's also actually becoming, because I'm actually realizing it a little bit more now. But if you're not 100% truth and the shape not actually matter, I worry about whether or not you even look at either sides. And that goes for both sides, because when I became a flat earther, I realized probably within a week that I didn't know shit about the globe. And it worried me, but I don't think I took enough, I didn't think about that actual attribute enough. Like, I didn't go, oh shit, you don't know enough about the globe. Why don't we take a step back and then decide if we're a flat earther? I definitely did the flat earth thing first, then realized it. And that right there made me hold my beliefs. So I always thought there was space. Space was always there. I didn't know how far out they could go, but I knew they could send probes out. I mean, come on, it's not hard to send a fucking robot into space. And I didn't think there was a dome. So as far as I was concerned, I had a lot more to work out, to think, to figure out how it was a flat Earth than I had time to go out and prove flat Earth to anybody.
I guess for me. I mean, I've been into why the reason I'm agnostic, and the reason that, like, since I was a young age, I've always looked into what is life, why we're here. I've been asking these questions since I was like 8 years of age, and believe it or not, I've been literally trying to find the answer to life since that day. And I think that if I ever get the answer to life, it'd be great if I was one of them people that could find the answer, which just seems like the most difficult task in the world. when I was looking at the world from a young age, I always ask questions like, why is the moon? What's this? What's that? What's this? And I was always good at science. I was always good at maths. I was never good at English. I looked into history, religion, history, and I talk to people, and me, I'm straight in, you know what I mean? And I'm not afraid to be wrong. And I do have the reason I get the gist of stuff, like when you say that if a flat earther asked me, they would run circles around me, because I don't go into extreme detail. Like, once I get the concepts of something, I get the idea of how something works, that's enough for me, because I think there's so much information to go through that if you was to go, you can only be an expert in one particular field in your life. You can dedicate your whole life to being a musician, you dedicate your whole life to being whatever trade you do, but once you've learned that one trade, it's going to take you a long time to restart and redo again, because things take time, they take experience.
Oh yeah.
So the gist is enough for me. The gist is enough.
Yeah, but you got to remember, not everyone thinks and takes in the same information as you do. So once you start projecting your what you know out, you got to remember, first of all, dude, how does people, people receive information differently everywhere, all the time. But if that doesn't matter, then, I mean, you got to kind of expect to, at some point, start to all of a sudden realize that, people are going to start pushing you away. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to want you to have that narrative in their area. Because like I said, man, I've heard you talk and really put out good, like, information and shit. But 5 minutes later, if you're laughing at him and calling him an idiot, even I don't want to hear it. And I know I keep pushing this to like the in depths of the earth with this shit, but it's like it really does make a difference because what ends up happening is you end up carrying a name of someone who's no one wants to have to deal with. And I know damn well, realistically, you have shit to say. Like I'd like to have that. I hate I'm going to say this. I'd like to have that vegan meat eating conversation with you, but I would much rather be able to go, can you show me something? And then, people that are hearing it get to see what you're saying about this. Because most of the reason that I don't even consider you having a chance with me with that conversation is because you're not willing to show anything for it. You know what I mean? So, and especially in these forums, you're almost expected to have your claims ready to be shown at all times. It's weird, but it's kind of how it molds.
The way I look at it, right, is things are self-evident for me, and I kind of say, like, I just say, well, you're killing an animal, and I think that if you can't get that, then that's when I tend to get well, you're a fucking this, that, and I can see what people all they see is the bad attitude. But I find that if people can't look past the bad attitude or the ab hums or whatever they want to call it, and the attitude, then it's their loss that they're missing. That there's always pearls of wisdom, but you have to go through tsunamis of bullshit. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes when I throw that bullshit up there, if they want to focus on the bullshit, let them. There is pearls of wisdom in there, and if you want to go through the shit to find the pearls of wisdom, they're there. But I find that people don't. It's also people are like, why is he being like that? It's a bit like Red's Reddick, right? You don't like him because he's an asshole. But he's right in what he says, and sometimes it's frustrating when you're not trying to be condescending, you're not trying to make out you're smarter than somebody, but when they don't listen to it, and it's so intuitively obvious, it's like it's blatantly obvious.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Sometimes I think that he gets to a point where there's nothing else left but to insult people, and if it's gonna spoil them and they're not gonna absorb the information that's been given, then fuck them. It's their loss at the end of the day. I've tried. You can only take a horse to water. But yeah, I think with the vegan situation, I don't go through all this fact stuff. Like, for example, I haven't gone out there and proved the globe to myself. I haven't, I've made a few observations. I've calculated in my head, and I've gone, yeah, that's enough for me. The sun casting shadows on the bottom of clouds. The sun setting. Things that are just like geometrically impossible on Earth. I've seen them. Without having to get fucking drones, without having to get fucking pictures across water, without just trying to please these people that have such high standards. I just think sometimes it's just about being honest with yourself, looking at things, like looking at the animals that are suffering in these farms, right? If you look at the suffer that if you go and look at some YouTube videos, look at slaughterhouses and look at what happens to these animals. Every time I eat steak or I eat chicken or I eat anything, I feel like shit, to be honest.
But at the same time, you got to remember. Now, yeah, I agree. There was a lot of fucking shady ass farms doing some shady ass shit to animals for some shady ass reasons like profit. But again, just like all the other scenarios I put forth, not every farm is like that. Because, for instance, my girl, her uncle has a farm in Texas, and literally, what they do is they breed them, and then they get to a certain weight and they sell them. They don't actually slaughter them there, but they sell them to whatever Joe Schmo meat factory. I don't know, whoever they're selling it to. But again, they're not big enough that they're selling to like a Kroger or out there. It's called I think it's what is it? Herb or Hib or some shit, but their animals are very well kept and very well taken care of. I think the biggest worry they got to worry about is a fucking electric fence, but that's it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I even think when these big organizations talk about that kind of stuff, they even put this context on all farmers, and then all farmers have to answer for that, and I think that's so fucking unfair. And it's kind of like kind of like how Debbie does it. And I know you hate saying hear me say this. It's how she argues about NASA. Somehow, regardless of how obviously true or untrue this is, she says all NASA workers are molesters and they this and they kidnap this and they know this. And it's like, Debbie, you're taking a case that happened for a NASA employee and decided that all NASA employees are like that, and you can't do that. And that's kind of where I stand with the slaughterhouse type mentality. Now again, they don't really do it right. They don't. I agree. They don't do it with any good interest.
That's a good way of putting your point. I totally see what you mean. Like, just because one slaughterhouse, and we look at it on the internet, is mistreating animals, doesn't mean all farms or majority of farms are having them practices. There's obviously some shady ones. Yeah, I see what you mean, and that's kind of how you see
it. And then I mean, there is the other side of me, man. It goes to, dude, you realize that cows aren't a natural species. Like, they're not. You don't find cows in the wild. Like, I get it, but at the same time, how much compassion do you give to an animal that is man-made essentially, and I mean, okay. it is bred to almost be that. Now, you do have to be disconnected for that to be your only care. And again, it's not my only care, because if that was because I hunt. When I hunt, it would be like, I don't care where I shoot them, but I've not taken shots just because I wasn't sure if I was going to get the good shot, because that you need to hit that bullseye on an animal when you're hunting.
Yep.
Because for one, there's a selfish reason and there's a real reason. The real reason of it is, if you graze that animal, you're hurting that animal. Why should that animal suffer for you? Then the other one is, if you graze it, that fucker's gonna run, and then you gotta run further and catch it, because they never run towards your car.
I've got to address a couple of points which are kind of they're kind of getting away from me already. But oh my god, you said something about the not every. But okay, I can't remember exactly the points. There was bigger points in this, but I will just stick with this one I've got now, which is They kill the animal. Do you know what I mean? And yes, it's domesticating. That's what you're on about. They've changed them. They're man-made. They're domesticated. I mean, you look at dogs, right? We've domesticated dogs. Dogs were like scroungers, like hyenas are to lions. Hyenas eat the leftovers of lions, and that's why dog becomes man's best friend, because dogs would, bark when things come near, and it was a good companion to have and helped with our survival.
But here there's a problem with your facts. There's a problem with your facts. Hyenas aren't dogs.
Sorry? Hyenas aren't dogs. I said hyenas are scavengers like dogs were scavengers.
Okay, I see. Okay, you're right. You're right. No, you're right. Keep going. Yeah. I apologize.
They scavenge off the lions, and dogs became man's best friend, because there was when we was, fucking primitive, we used to have leftover food, and they used to come and scavenge, and then they became dogs' friendly. The relationship started there. But, when I walk around Thailand, for example, there is hundreds of stray dogs, no owners, just walking the streets, eating leftovers, same way, and they was able to survive in a city. They're domesticated animals that can still live on their own. Do you know what I mean? They walk around, they get fed by people, and they eat. They're still scavengers.
Is that domestic? Is that still domesticated?
But we can say that we created the dogs that we have today.
Oh yeah.
They aren't the natural wolves that we first.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, obviously, yeah.
So we've we've taken them. We've evolved them to a point where, they're domesticated. Same as cows. Cows used to be a natural animal, but we domesticated them.
Nope. Hang on. So what happened is once buffalo started dwindling really fast, and ox were very, very hard to get across to. It was hard to get ox from Europe and Africa and all that shit. It was hard to get them here without them dying. So what they figured out is that if they mix the genes of or they didn't mix the genes, so to speak, the sperm, they started making these hybrid ox bison. Well, once they got that going, and they were able to actually start making surviving off them, so to speak. What ended up happening is years went by, laboratories started doing a lot of tests on them, and they figured out how to. This is where the gene splicing started happening. How they did that with ox and bison, which makes your cow. Cows aren't a natural species. You will not find cows that are over 200 years, I'll say 400 years old. Because that's when they started doing all the mixing and mixed breeding and all that kind of crap like that. But yeah, cows are definitely not a natural species. You can Google the shit out of that. You'll never find a cow that old. All ox, all bison, all buffalo.
Right, well, I don't know the full history of cows, but the concept of what I was trying to make was quite clear that either way, if that's the story how cows got into farms, then but either way we've done something in order to change them. But they do suffer a lot. Whatever species we've made, even the tomato has been genetically modified. We've done little changes to bananas. We've made our life more convenient for us, but at the expense of fucking animals suffering, and there is obvious suffering there. The child's been taken away from their mothers, milked all day, fucking grinded up into shit. The chickens, everything. When you look at it, and you look at it from an undoctrinated view, because this is one of the things that I'm glad I've got, which is an unbiased view, because I know what it's like to be biased because I have black parents and white parents. So you see the black and white.
That has nothing to do with being not biased, because you are a very biased person. You're biased to your own beliefs. Even if you got to be honest about that first.
But what I'm trying to show you something here is that when I was younger, I used to look at the black family, the white family, and I became the unbiased from the two. So I know what it's like to be stuck in your ways. So I'm very aware of what it's like to be stuck in your ways. So one thing I do is I look at myself and try to unstick my ways and try to get to the bottom of it. Now, I used to eat meat, and I used to think, well, I still eat meat, but I've always ate meat, and I thought, what the fuck's wrong with vegetarians? What's wrong with vegans? They're different. They was the enemy. I used to laugh at them. I used to eat meat in their face. I used to take the piss out of them. Then I started to study why they're vegetarians and vegans, and then I started to think about it. And vegetarians and vegans used to say things to me like, "You're never going to see it because you think there's nothing wrong with eating meat." And I used to think, yeah, I was biased then. I unbiased myself from a meat eater to looking at it like, hang on, these animals suffer.
But do you realize that animals food sources have been suffering forever? If you imagine we'll just say for instance, lions and tigers and bears, when they eat something, do you think they slit its throat or put a bullet in its head? Obviously not, right?
Yeah.
Of many of these when any of these animals kill their prey, they don't slit their throats or put a bullet in their head.
But come on, it's a natural process. What happened in there?
But okay, no. Okay, but here you go. Hang on.
Animals to justify our wrong.
Yes, I can. You ready? It's in our nature to eat meat. We've ate meat since the beginning of time. We ate meat, Rummy, long before we ever even knew of a vegetable. Period. That's just the way it is. Why? Because we didn't know how to. We were nomads way before we settled. That's just.
A key point for you now. We're not carnivores.
You're right. We are not carnivores. But we were carnivores.
No.
Okay, maybe they foraged. I don't know. I'm not going to say they did not eat any grains, maybe that they found on wherever they were. But I can tell you right now, from the day one, I guarantee you, meat was in their diet.
We ate whatever we ate to survive, whether it was plants or meat, right? So let's but we're not carnivores, right? So we're not.
No, we eat both. But I would say our bodies were probably fit for meat more than they were for vegetables.
Yeah,
in the beginning.
When we started cooking food is when our jawline changed. We didn't need
I forgot about this one.
When the powerful, you know what? It's actually 100% true, right? I know when I was arguing with that person, they were saying cooking food didn't evolve our brains, but the reason our jaw structure changed, which allowed more room in the brain, was because our meat we didn't need to bite into our meat, and it wasn't chewy and gamey because we cooked it. It became soft, so our jaws adapted to the soft food and became smaller. That's why we got the wisdom teeth, and that's why we've got more space in our head and because we had more calories from a cooked food, because you get more calories from cooked food than you do from raw meat. And these two elements, the more space in the brain and the more calories from the cooked food, was the massive contributing factor to having bigger brains. I was trying to explain this to that guy, but you know what it's like in that room when everyone's talking at the same time. You can't explain yourself properly because you get half a second to say something before someone jumps on you. So you know. It was a determining factor. Cooking food was a very vital part to our brains being bigger because it created more space.
Okay, but what I would say is wouldn't cooking food be more of a disease and bacteria fixing scenario?
I don't know what you mean by that.
So I would think that they started cooking food because they were getting sick, rather than they started cooking food and their jaws got stronger.
The story that I subscribe to is when we was gatherers and we started to work with teamwork and we realized hunting in packs was better, and you know that when the lightning strikes the tree, and then we had fires, and then we started to harness fire. You know, once we had our meat, you know, some of that meat, you know, fell on the fire, and you know, and then we discovered that, so we started to do that more often with with our kids, because our kids would play with stuff and they would throw stuff on the fire, and it makes sense to me that somehow that they mixed the two, the fire and the meat, and then they realized that it tastes better.
I would think you know what I would think would be more likely. I think maybe these whatever they were. We'll just say whatever they were, because some creationists will hear us and say we don't know, and then we'll be the proof for non-evolution. I honestly believe more of something like a wildfire would have happened, and you know, as these nomads are moving and they're fucking probably starving, they come across a burnt, you know, a burnt antelope or something, and that meat probably all of a sudden has a good taste to it, or you know, it's easier to chew for one. They probably got less sick that meal, stuff like that, and I kind of think that may have had something to do with like cooking food.
Evolution takes a long time, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean that could have been a 1,000-year process right there alone.
Yeah. So you know, our jaws have got smaller, and you know, but back to the actual point, the reason this topic's been brought up is because you're saying because we've always been doing it, therefore we should continue to do it. Now we've got evolution is about dropping the old and continuing the new and becoming better and more refined. We used to have slavery. Does that mean because it was an effective thing that we should continue to do it?
It's not the same thing though.
No, but there's principles that are related, which are that it's immoral.
Right?
It's
One's more of a necessity, and one's more of I'd say ego and power trip, but definitely not the same.
Hard labor was the only way then, and that was.
But see that doesn't work because there were jobs and people were getting paid. So, I mean, it wasn't like
because you had the upper class and the lower class. You had the people and black people, from what I'm aware of, sold their own people to the.
Well, in a sense, that did happen, but at the same time, if we're going to be not justifying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say justifying, I meant more using the two and combined to prove a point. I would say that you got to remember, yes, they did have an upper class and a lower class. They had jobs, they hired people to do those type of jobs, and they didn't pay slaves. And that whole mentality of they gave them a place to sleep and and food is kind of turning a blind eye to the reality of what it really is. It's forcing work on people because you'd think less of them.
I'm glad that you said these things, right? Because even people have argued, meat eaters have said they wouldn't have a life if it wasn't for us. We feed them, we shelter them. Do you not see them in animal farms? People would argue meat eaters would argue that we give these animals a life. We feed them. We give them a roof over their
But
head.
remember earlier when you said
you're saying about slavery. So why is it
okay. Remember when you said earlier that tigers and lions eat the way they do and hunt the way they do because they're in nature. They're wild animals, right?
Yep.
We're still animals. So it's in our nature to eat meat. And just because our way of eating meat has evolved from, the chase and stalk method, which was pretty much probably the best hunting method there ever probably was. I don't know. Fucking crazy.
And you see where you fucked up now? You fucked up because now you've tried to justify the actions of other animals.
I'm not justifying anything. I'm justifying why we eat meat. That's it.
Yeah.
Not justifying how we eat meat.
I'm just lions eat meat, therefore we should eat meat.
Yes, animals eat their prey. Animals eat what they need to sustain life.
Animals also lick each other's genitals and they greet each other.
Oh, you haven't licked some pussy? You haven't got a blowjob? Because that's the same fucking thing, buddy. Male dogs smell other male dogs' asses. Are you telling me that
lions also kill each other's children?
Hey, people kill people too. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
But we know that these are immoral. We know better. These animals don't know.
No. We know murder isn't okay, but we know eating meat is okay. That's a difference. There's a disconnect between that one because you're thinking morals.
You're not looking between the lines here. Sean.
Oh, I am looking between the lines because what you're saying is it's okay for a lion to eat meat because it's a lion. It's not okay for people to eat meat because we're people, and that doesn't justify it. But here's the thing: we're all animals. We've been eating meat since the beginning of time, basically.
Come on, man.
No, listen. We've been eating meat since the beginning of time. Why do you believe that suddenly not eating meat, for one, is healthy, and two, is natural?
Well, you've got away from the point that I was making.
I'm not.
No, I will answer that. But first of all, humans and lions, we cannot equal ourselves to lions, right?
Why?
We are better than them. We know better. We know the suffering that we're causing.
Whoa! Are we better? Because if you ask me, I'm listen. I'm in the camp that animals are much smarter than we are. We may be more intelligent. We may be able to be more innovative and have a language that we can understand ourselves and make an iPhone and a computer and watch TV and go to baseball games and look at girls in bikinis, all the fun stuff in life. But does that animal have to stress out every month for over bills and taking care of kids and for 18 years and the whole no. They're surviving. Now, if you put the population of people that live on Earth into a wild situation with zero technology, I'm promising you a lot of them aren't going to make it. A lot more than you think.
John, all you're doing is strengthening my argument as you talk.
I hope so. Keep going.
Everything you're saying is exactly why we shouldn't be equaling ourselves to lions. Do you understand? What you're saying it actually supports my argument.
How?
Every word you just said.
How? Go ahead.
That's what you're not getting, Sean. That's what I'm trying to get you to see.
Well, you have all the times to have a platform to do it. Go right ahead, my friend.
So you're saying that these animals, right? They don't pay bills. They don't know better, right? They ain't on our level. We have that level of consciousness, right? We have that. We're at a higher state. Okay, so we know not to be killing other people's children.
Yes.
Yeah. Lions don't know that difference between that, so we can't be judging lions like that. We cannot be using the examples.
Wait. But aren't they? We are animals, correct?
Yes, we're animals.
And I mean, when it comes to surviving, you think that we are superior over them. Now, maybe as a society we are. 100% agree. Rummy, but if you went into Africa and they dropped your ass off in the middle of Africa, how long do you think you're going to live? And you're not running to a town. You have to survive.
We're not in the middle of Africa.
I understand that. That's 100%.
I don't know what this fallacy is called, right? But
I'm just
on an island.
I'm just showing you there's less.
This is what makes easier say.
But there's less of it. Look, there's less of a disconnect than you think.
I'm going to shut down
Go ahead.
right now because you're not.
Go
Thank you.
ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Is right, Sean. The difference is if everyone, all meat eaters will say, if you was on an island and you had a cow, and what would you do? Would you just not? Would you just die and not eat the? Of course, I'd eat people. I'd eat fucking human beings if it was my survival. But we're not in that situation, Sean. We're in a society where our longevity in our life is completely fine. It's now a choice whether to eat the animals or not. It's an absolute choice. It's not a must for survival. It's a choice.
It's not a choice. You do realize that? Okay.
Absolutely a choice.
Okay. Now let's go to the technical part of it. Now, do you believe it takes more calories to eat a 4-ounce steak or 4 ounces of vegetables?
Yeah, I know what you say. It's a lot, vegetables are, it's a lot more difficult to get the calories that we need that we can get from meat. I agree. That I concede that point instantly. I know that's not the point of the fact that we have a higher consciousness.
Wait. Well, you do remember. You remember. You part of your argument is that we started cooking food and our jaws got bigger or stronger. I'm sorry, more streamlined, which gave more room for our brains. Right?
Yep.
Now, do you believe that happened during eating meat or vegetables?
Meat.
Okay, so obviously eating meat is a good thing in that situation, correct?
It was.
Okay,
It was a necessity, but it's not a necessity now. It wasn't a necessity then, and it was a vital part of our evolution then.
Okay, well then show me, explain to me a time in our history or now in our present that eating vegetables is better for us.
They are the vegetarians are at the top of the food chain.
Why?
And the reason it's better for us because the cholesterol is a is our last line of defense for viruses and infections, right? It's like what's it called? Antibiotics, right? Now the animal farm industry is using cholesterol, which is if you're in hospital and you get like a really super virus, a superbug virus, they will give you cholesterol to get rid of it. But the fact is that all these animals are being given cholesterol to get rid of all the infections and stuff. Now, what happens to germs is that they eventually become immune to the antibacterial antibiotics, right? So we have to develop new ones. Now, cholesterol is our last line of defense. So when the superbug can adapt and adapt to cholesterol, it will then because remember, you eat the food, you travel around the world, food is distributed all around the world. We could have a zombie apocalypse on our hands, right? And that can be transported and delivered through the meat industry. Now, it's actually one of the biggest global. I know you're not probably aware of this, but it's one of the biggest global catastrophes waiting to happen.
Wait, what is?
Obviously, the fact that if a superbugs, like if you keep taking antibiotics, right, for an infection, eventually that infection evolves and it becomes immune to what used to kill it. The antibiotics used to kill it. Now, if you get sick in a hospital, the last form of defense for all like bugs and like viruses is cholesterol, but they give that to animals to stop them from getting infected. Now, if these infections get immune to that antibacterial, then if say like you get mad cow disease or some sort of disease that's been developed through these animals, it would wipe out the entire world. And bacteria transports through your stomach.
Well, see, the thing is that's not true because, for instance, like mad cow disease, they caught that.
What they use cholesterol.
But they still caught it, though.
Why do you think they're using cholesterol? It's the last line of defense, which what I've just said to you.
No. I get that part, but I mean, but at the very end, you also stated that the easiest way to get these bacteria through into people and something like an outbreak happen would be through their meat. But they've caught that kind of stuff from happening. And you do realize you can get salmonella from plants too, right?
Yeah, you can get some things.
I mean, I think the United States just went through a whole don't eat lettuce shit fest for a minute ago, like for a week or two. Right. I mean, it happens all the time. Oh, I mean, you know what? I'm on your side for one thing. You know that some of the meat you buy at stores, you know some of that shit is cloned, right?
Yeah, possibly.
No. It is. So I think it's 2014. Hang on, let me see.
I've just had to get a reason I've been a bit distant is because I've just had to link you the video. I can't share links in chat, but if you watch that video, and I've timestamped it as well. That shows you how that disease will multiply and how that will affect the entire world. That gives you like an explanation on how that's like it's called an antibiotic apocalypse. Antibiotic apocalypse.
You love the shit out of these fucking cartoons, don't you? Oh, it has subtitles. I'll show it because it has subtitles.
It's run by a group of people that try to be as unbiased as possible. You know, I find some good sources on YouTube. I mean, I found Wolfie 620 before, you know, when he had like 1,000 subscribers. You know, I went around looking for, you know, people that were debunking flat Earth, and you know, he's now got like fucking 60,000 subscribers. He's actually quite big, but I knew this guy way before, and I'm not bragging and boasting. Quarters in a nutshell, I get a lot of my information from them because these people do research to put out good videos, and you know, they're a very popular channel and they're very well researched, and they try to be as unbiased as they can, and that's why I'm interested in the unbiasedness. So when you said I was a biased person, you know, one of the main things that I'm not is that because I was a meat eater. I was a glober. You know, I still am a glober, but I have looked into flat Earth. I've unlearned everything I've learned. I've listened to their arguments, and you know, I've seen more problems than I do see solutions. And that's where, you know, I can argue against them very well because I see that. I can see the problem is not with the information. The problem is with the interpretation of the information. And yet again, Sean, I've tried to bring you to light something. And what's interesting is that I'm sitting here and I'm laughing when you're saying, "Oh, well, you know, lions do this, lions do that." I could see you rationalising it, but all you're doing is strengthening my position because you're not seeing why you're strengthening it, and that's why I'm trying to say to you, if you can get a chance to look back at this interview or this 1v1 or whatever, or this hangout, just try to listen to how the conversation's gone and the things that I've said, and then try to pretend to be me, and then I'll try to pretend to be. Well, I'm already pretending to be you because I've already argued your case, and I think you do hold some good arguments of in, you know, vaccinations towards kids. I think that was a good point. I'm going to look into. I think you meant, you know, with animals being, you know, not all farmhouses are treated roughly just because I've seen a few, and I think that's the strongest point. That maybe I definitely feel like I'm probably guilty of thinking that all farmhouses kick their animals, you know what I mean, and cut their throats, you know, and it's like a bloodbath because it's not. I think a lot of I'm probably very wrong there, and probably a lot of farmers do love their animals and look after them.
Okay, but here's the problem, and right off the bat, I'm gonna say this right away. You're right, but the reason why your argument it will never cease to win is that the reality of it is that can't stop eating meat and be healthy. You have to take supplements. You have to fucking go through all this crap. Like, it's not healthy to do. Like, there's many studies on this. Yeah. That's the problem. Now, here's the only study I've ever seen that openly will say we don't know is the cancer aspect of it. Who is more likely to develop cancer? It's too early. Vegan or vegetarian hasn't been around long enough. What's up, P. Mars? How you doing, sir?
Hey man, eating meat is awesome, but Brummy got brainwashed by Agenda 21.
Well, the problem is I don't think he knows what Agenda 21 is. Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, he jumped off.
Curve Pimp was saying, he kept tagging me. I don't know what the fuck he's on about. And I've spoken to vegetarians and vegans like growing up, and I used to laugh and take the piss at them and eating burgers in front of them and order meat feast pizzas just for the sake of it, and I never knew what the fuck was wrong with it. And obviously, with the way I am and the way I brought up with the unbiasedness, because I know what it's like to hold a position so tightly, that one of the reasons is I'm very able to let go of what I think and take other people's opinion on board. And when you do see things through other people's perspective, then you can determine whether you're indoctrinated or whether you're biased or whatever. And that's why I became a vegetarian for 8 months. I never ate, I was a vegan, sorry, for 8 months because I do agree with Sean's point that being a vegan will give you a lot of health deficiencies and you will need supplements. But I think it is a very primitive stage for vegetarian and veganism, and I think if the whole world worked together and we had more, the reason that we have so much vegan options and vegetarian options now is because it's a growing force, and because there's more demand, there's more being supplied. And I think if the demand was higher, we would have actually better food, better alternatives. And maybe it won't be. I mean, it maybe not be the perfect world with all the economical situations in these farms, and we need more land, and I know all the technicality side of it, but there is going to be problems ahead of changing the way that we are. But I do think that the animals are suffering, and when we objectify that this is wrong, change is the only action. Slavery was a very effective way to do stuff, but we realized morally this is just wrong, so it had to change, and there was a lot of changes that needed to be made. Now we have machines and we have better alternatives than hard labor, but hard labor then was the only way. And I don't feel like that Sean's argument that because we used to do something and it was effective that we should continue doing it.
Well, the thing is we didn't eat meat because it was effective. We ate meat because we had to survive. Now, when you start talking cooking it and living into the present of where we are now, we probably consume more than we need, but it's still something that we have to do. And the meaning of we have to do it is that we can't farm enough crops fast enough to support the population of the world. Now, and I've heard your argument of we can just go to a lab. Well, again, I know it aggravates you, but when I start bringing up, like the money and the realization of what it would take to do that, like that matters, because you got to understand, would they even do these things because of the cost and because of the efficiency of it? It will always be easier and always be more efficient to have meat on your plates, population wise, than vegetables. For one, you got to understand, you got to realize it actually takes more crops being grown than animals being killed to put into our bodies to sustain life, just based on the fact that we burn more calories chewing it than we actually gain from most of these vegetables. Like, the reason we ate meat, this is as real as it gets. If we hadn't ate meat in the 1930s, 1910, like 1900, early 1900s or late 1800s, we wouldn't have had the gold rush. We wouldn't have had people fucking settling in shit. Why? Because they wouldn't have been able to even build a fence. Because vegetables, you have to eat all day long. That's why even you're a vegan or vegetarian, you have to physically snack on that shit all day long to sustain calories, not even gaining calories. That is not a healthy, it's not a sustainable way of living. So to tell me you have to rule out meat for the emotional value of slaughtering a cow, that sounds foolish. You're talking about the survival of human now.
Yeah, well, no, you've just repeated the same problem. You've just said, like, what is it you said exactly? That because we used to do this and this was an effective way to grow to evolve as a species, therefore we must continue to do it. We're at that point. We're evolved now. We're aware that we're causing harm. We're at the point where we don't need it for survival. It's just for the privilege and the taste that these animals are suffering.
No. We've made it so that food tastes good. We have not evolved to the point where we're only eating it because it tastes good. We made it taste good so that we could eat it. You got to remember that's the whole point of seasonings.
But look at the seasonings are herbs and spices. They're not the thing that actually tastes good is the seasoning.
No. You ever been to Texas?
No, I've not been to Texas.
Go to Texas. Try to put some seasoning or spices on their fucking meat. They will bitch slap your ass. Their meat tastes perfectly fine without seasoning.
I I mean, the free range, like fucking free, you know, I think animals that have actually lived a free life, you know, for example, I had chicken eggs, right? My mate had his own chickens, and he used to have blue eggs, yellow eggs, and I just look at the eggs, like, what the fuck? I've never seen eggs that color before. And he goes, mate, these eggs are proper like nutritious because I've looked after my chickens, and I thought there's not gonna be no difference. Now I put a normal egg in, like a supermarket egg in the pan, and I put one of his eggs in the pan, and the yolk was extremely orange and vibrant. And this is something you can confirm for yourself. I only eat duck eggs. I go to the market to get duck eggs because ducks aren't as like, you know, what's the word, mainstream as chicken eggs. And
Wait. Well, you know, you can. There are farms that are maybe have like 100 chickens. Yeah, free range 100 chickens, and you can buy your products from them. Actually, that'd be better. You'd be actually supporting a small business. But the issue with what you're saying again is like someone else said in the chat. It's sustainability. Now, the one thing you're never going to get by on pretty much anybody is we want more chemicals. We want more antibiotics. We want more cholesterol. Because you do realize that to produce enough sustainable crops, they're going to have to pump more of that crap into them to make them grow faster, to last longer. You do realize that they already do that, and a lot of people are up in arms about it. Not to mention Whole Foods and wherever else you're getting all your vegan dietary supplements or whatever the fuck you call them, those stores. They're raking in left, like it's more expensive pound for pound for vegetables than it is for meat. Now, for something you need more of to sustain life, which is the vegetables, that's a lot of fucking money. That's why people say going vegan is so expensive. You do realize that, right?
Because it's not you know, it's not the mainstream market at the moment. It's not the most dominant. It's not the easiest way to get food and all these calories and all this stuff. But I guarantee you, the more supply, more demand, the more supply will happen. The reason we have so many vegetarian options.
Whoa. Supply and demand. No, supply and demand has nothing to do with survival. No, wait. I know, but let's get that straight, though. Let's get one thing straight. You cannot say supply and demand will get it done. Supply and demand will not make vegetables all of a sudden sustainable. It's not sustainable. That has nothing to do with it. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you talk now. Go ahead.
Are you actually gonna let me finish though? That's the point.
I am this time.
The point being, right, that when you're in a situation, you adapt, don't you? If you don't put yourself in the situation, you don't adapt. So, you know, until we these vegetarians and vegans, when they become big enough and the demand is big enough, some changes will start to happen. Change doesn't happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm not saying every fucking industry should close their farm today and stop. What I'm saying is that this movement needs to get big enough to the point where we have better alternatives. Better alternatives will be meat made. You can actually make meat from vegetables. You can make a texture exactly the same, and you can actually flavor the burgers. You can create enzyme burgers. If you go and do some research on some enzyme burgers, I could do a little Google search now if you like, or a YouTube video. And there is synthetic burgers made from enzymes, and you can have a bubblegum flavored burger. So it would have the texture of a burger. It would have everything that you bite into. Because texture, any chef will tell you, texture is taste. The main thing is the texture in your mouth. Now, and the actual flavoring could be actually better. We could actually have bubblegum burgers. We could have, anything, and that could be made from vegetables. And vegetables was the market where the money was. Farmers would that's where the money would be. That's where supply and demand would go. So, yes, I mean, I'm not pretending to sit here and have all the answers of how we would have to practically change everything around the way we have, because, that's like me saying, we'd have to rebuild the entire world. Or, that it can be done. It's not going to be easy, but for you to sit there and say, it definitely isn't going to happen because, this, that, and the other. Right?
Hey, Bremy, give me 1 second. Keep ranting, but I can hear you on my speakers, but I gotta go answer the door real quick.
Okay. Tommy took too many punches to his noggin. Methinks. Well, Lottie, I think a lot of the good points I made were earlier in the conversation when you wasn't here. But I think Sean's stuck in the point where he just thinks like, he can't change, never going to change. you know, we're supposed to be, it's best for us, blah blah blah, and with that attitude, yeah, nothing will ever get done. But it's not about having that sort of mindset. The fact is, eating meat, eating meat is fucking. Discord misses you. I miss Discord. Like Nick, to be honest, let me just change the subject.
Okay, hang on. Go in the chat because I want to read this article that I found real quick. Go type in the chat and go. Yeah, go there. Go.
Can I just talking through here?
Because I want to read the article that I've been trying to share for 10 minutes, and I'm not going to listen to you talk about the server. Go in the chat and talk. Okay. All right. So what I wanted to show you guys is this article that I came across. It's from the Scientific America. Kind of skip over the first crap. Basically just talking about Dolly the sheep. But it says in 2008, the United States Food and Drug Administration approved the sale of cloned animals and their offsprings for food, despite fierce opposition from the animals' welfare and consumers advocate groups, environmental organizations such as Congress, and many other consumers. There is clone meat in our markets. Now, it was crazy because this is one of them. Now, another one I had read was basically the question was how much meat is in the markets that is cloned, and literally the article said they don't know. Okay, actually, this talks about it too. So it says, given FDA's green light, consumers' only hope avoiding cloned animal products may be appealed to business directly, not to penalize such items. The Pennsylvania-based American Anti-Vivisection Society, I don't know what the fuck that is, and with others, all formed animals research and testing, mounted a campaign, blah, 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 it's crap. All right, so I'm going to try to find the other one, but basically one of the issues that they're having is that there's no checks and balance system for it. I'm going to see if this, hang on 1 second. Fuck, I don't know where it is, but I'll find it. But yeah, there's clone meat in our markets, and the reason why you won't get a good number on it is because there's no way of knowing. They're not regulated to count it at all. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, I see. Is cloning animals physically immoral? I don't care. Or to where? I would say more along the lines of when you're talking about cloned animals. I would say more of the lines of a health issue of will they survive, or what can they do? What are they going to do to the population? What are they pumping into them? The whole nine. I mean, cloning isn't old. They haven't figured shit out. They just know how to clone a fucking sheep, basically. When it comes to actual cloning and stuff. But yeah, you done having girl chat in there?
Yeah, it's not easy for me to just address it in voice, man. I hate typing. I can't even spell. I know Chris is a twat.
Okay, well, I'm done talking about that until I get some more questions. Then go ahead and talk if you want.
What questions about what the vegan shit?
Well, yeah, I just read that article.
I'll probably throw meat in there, and I know some kebab shops that probably chopped up some people and served me that as well, man. I wouldn't be surprised, but I definitely feel like the suffering of animals. If we just put a video up now watching the slaughter of animals and how this it's just barbaric, and it disturbs me. And what's more disturbing is that people like yourself don't see nothing wrong with it. And you can watch video.
Whoa. Rewind from Tonto. Go back. Did you literally just say people like you? Let's get one thing straight, dickface. I do not eat meat from a fucking store. I hunt. I get my shit from a freezer. So do not pack me in. Second of all, the reason so many people go vegan is because they listen to rhetoric like you've spouted without facts about anything, evidence for anything. And realize something. You have, again, like I said, I want to see some facts behind this shit. Because here's the problem with everything you said. humans have to eat meat. I'm sorry, not all. And people have the God-given right to fucking eat vegetables all they want. But the reality of it is, if Congress said, "Hey, no more killing cows, no more eating meat, take all the meat out the stores, no more, shut it down," you do understand that that would be the biggest population control fucking controversy of all fucking times. Like, that would kill so many fucking people, it'd be insane. What's up, Metaslug? How you doing?
Oh, hey, man. Yeah, I scrolled up. You posted the link.
Yeah. Sorry,
cool.
I usually try to do that a little bit more frequently. My bad.
Yeah, cool. So I'm just popping in to say hi.
All
I don't
right.
think I've ever been on any of your hangouts. I've witnessed probably half a dozen of them. But
Awesome.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you.
Cool. Well, thanks for stopping in.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, the Scientific American article that you posted, I read through it, and it basically quotes someone that is saying that there's ethical issues with cloning and animal welfare issues, but it doesn't really point. It said that there's settled science that indicates there's ethical issues and welfare issues, but it doesn't actually point to the so-called settled science. So, I mean, without knowing what any of that is, I don't think any of us can make a really informed decision as to whether that's true.
Oh, whether or not there is cloned meat in there?
Well, no.
Or if it's healthy or not.
Yeah, yeah, that there's ethical and animal welfare issues. I don't know enough about the cloning process myself to really make some sort of assertion that there'd be welfare issues.
Yeah,
or ethical issues.
I don't think there's any welfare issues with it. I think, well, for me personally, it'd be more along the health, like I said, the healthy lines. And like you were saying, there really hasn't been enough time to have the science to even do that. But I do know like the regulations they're putting on cloned meat isn't very strict. And for something so new, I would say there should be a lot of regulations on it, though, right?
I would suppose that there really should be. The very broad strokes that I know about the cloning of Dolly the sheep that happened long ago was that the animals didn't have a full lifespan anyways. Now I don't know what kind of advancements cloning could possibly have up till this day, because that was quite a while ago, but it might be something interesting to look into.
Yeah. Well, because I've done a little bit of looking into it, not very much, and I'm definitely going to look into it a lot more, because I remember reading a lot of stuff about the regulations on it, and it's pathetic to me, in my opinion at least. But again, it's like I still run on those guidelines, like anything we're reading, especially like stuff like cloning meat and gene splicing. I'm almost positive they were doing that shit long before they're telling us.
Sean, Cood wants to know why cloned meat would be unhealthy.
Who? What? Say it again. Okay. Just not knowing if the genes are doing everything, and I don't know the real medical term of how to say it, but how do you know it's not going to be it's not tainted in any way? How do you know it's a gene doesn't?
Yeah, well, tomatoes. The tomato in a store has been genetically modified. The banana's been genetically. I can't be asked to fucking talk properly. Genetically modified. You know, a lot of stuff that we consume has been tampered with, and the future is genetic modification with CRISPR, and you know that's going to give us better immune systems, bigger brains. We're going to be able to evolve ourselves a lot quicker with this. With technology.
Yeah, but
that's making a pretty big jump from genetically modifying livestock to genetically modifying like
a tomato
babies and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you got to realize that one's a plant and the other one has to grow up, develop proper health, become healthy, produce meat, and then it gets to our bodies. It's not the same thing at all. Like it's a very huge jump.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that there could be a precedent to say that it could be a slippery slope, that you know once we really start using CRISPR to modify crops and livestock and so on, and we get really good at it, someone down the line is going to try to apply that to, let's say, human modifications or a designer baby
Yeah,
or something
well,
like that. I mean, you could say there's a slippery slope there, but
oh, there is, and they're doing it.
yeah,
Well,
but you can't really say that they are going to do that.
well,
So,
okay, so
I don't know.
they're in a way they're doing it now, but they found ways around it. So no, you can't get a perfect baby, but now they do offer. Do you want your child to have blonde hair, brown hair? Do you want your kid to have blue eyes? Like, they're able to do these things and legally, but the way they've worded how they do that is different from, I guess, a cyborg baby, I guess you would call it almost. But man, that's shit so right around the corner. It's crazy. Like, it's there.
Wait. You're saying that they're currently doing this?
Yeah.
They're giving you the option to design a baby with certain color eyes.
Blue eyes and hair. Yes, they are able
I don't
to.
know about that.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any links for that? Or
I can try to find them real quick.
Sure.
But I didn't save all the shit, but I do remember reading it. What it was is because they, right after gene splicing, they started going. They went instantly to the ethical aspects of any kind of cloning, and that came up like right away. It was like, well, if we're going to clone humans, we have to think about the ethics of it. And number one thing was the perfect child. It was the term that they were using a lot.
No,
I'm trying to find it.
I would totally not like to go the eugenics route. But if there's a way through CRISPR to be able to get rid of, let's say, a gene duplication or something that would create some sort of really devastating congenital disease like cystic fibrosis or something, sure, by all means, take that out. But
see, the problem,
not to create, a genetically perfect human. I mean, what is the genetically perfect human?
Well, we got to realize that when you can present it as what we want to do is we want to get this cloning and gene splicing down to a science and to the point where we can make it so no child in the population will ever have to deal with cancer again. The realization is that on one side that's the goal, but the other side there is going to be a billionaire who figures out the same legislation that passes this is saying that I can make a child, I can make my genes, my family history be perfect now, and they're going to use it for that. They're not really going to care what the real reason is, but they're going to use it for that.
Yeah, that's where the slippery slope lies.
Yeah, and then the other is because we aren't in the cloning people factory business, and/or I'm not going to say animals because I got to look into it more, but I know we're not in the clone human business. So that means there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. Now, that does mean some disfigured and sick prone humans have to be born to be able to tweak and fix the certain genes and the certain things that have to go certain places to make this actually work perfectly, so that those billionaires don't sue the medical field.
I don't know about that. The way the roundabout way that CRISPR works is you can predict any kind of problems that might arise with it. So it's not like it's not going to be like the third or fourth Alien movie. Remember, they were like cloning Ripley, and then they walked through a bunch of tanks with mutated Ripleys.
That's what happens when.
No, I don't. That's kind of science fiction. That's
But
not really how CRISPR works.
But CRISPR basically takes both parents, or are they taking the embryo?
Embryo, I think.
So
I
then
have to look at it again.
Well, I'm not gonna try to pin an answer because I have no fucking clue, to tell you the truth. I literally was just creating a scenario.
One of the things, though, you have to understand that let's say you wanted to eradicate cancer. Well, that would mean that you would have to build a very strong immune system in your potential people, right? And so that in itself is pretty much eugenics. You're building a more perfect person, right? If you were to even combat cancer. So there's even certain things where eugenics would have to take place. You would actually have to make some sort of designer baby that would be bigger and stronger and whatever like that, than you would otherwise have if you just had natural birth and so on. So yeah, I mean, I can see that there would be problems with that. I would. It just struck me now that what you read in the Scientific American article, maybe that's probably what they were pointing to. They're saying that there would be ethical issues down the line if we were to research cloning and hone it to a point where we can apply it to people and all that. So maybe that's what they were talking about with the whole settled science thing in that article you read. But
yeah, I think I found an article from 2009. I'll put the link in the Hangout chat, and then also in the chat in the YouTube. This is talking about cloning, and when it comes to the hair color and eye color, embryos, and all that stuff.
Okay, cool.
But it was saying every week it seems there's blah blah blah. Don't really want to read the crap of it. 2 months ago, a fertility institute. Okay, it says 2 months ago, the where am I? Fertility Institute is assisting reproduction company headquarters in Los Angeles began advertising the pending ability of genetic tests that would offer a pre-selection choice of gender, eye color, hair color, and complexion. An artificially convinced child. On Thursday, the Wall Street Journal reported half a dozen potential clients had contacted the company to request such tests. As today, the tests still aren't up for sale, but several trends are converging to make these artificial trait selections an impending business.
Okay, yeah. So it's basically saying it's basically saying there are potential clients that are contacting them saying, "Hey, I want this. I want my brown-haired baby, or I want my blue-green eyes or black eyes or whatever." And they are saying that it's impending perhaps, but it isn't actually something that they're offering yet. But that was back in 2009.
Yeah. That I was just going to say.
Ago. What we'd have to do is contact the Fertility Institute. So it says, let's see, Fertility Institute, an assisted reproduction company headquartered in Los Angeles. So this is a private company. So it's probably just one of many private companies.
Yeah. Again, like this is all off the cuff, so I
yeah.
This is definitely
it's cool. This is good that we're looking through this.
Yeah.
That's what you should be doing. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I really don't think designer babies are here yet, but it could be down the road. I mean, culture changes. What was permissible 50 years ago often becomes more permissible as time goes on, or gets impermissible again, and so on. So yeah, I mean, there's a precedent for a slippery slope there, but it isn't here yet, thankfully.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Well, you got, again, like I said, I definitely, I almost assume at this point in time, like the real money players and government officials, I do believe there's shit like this going on that we're just not going to know about. And it's unfair to go, I need proof, because there's not going to be much, and I'm only one person. But to me, it seems more naive to just, assume everything's good, everything's fine. I don't think you do it, because you kind of seem like you would want to read through everything before you made an assumption. But there's a lot of things that just, I would think, are kind of obvious. Like the biggest one I've heard is technology. People that served in the military, I hear this a lot. There is not technology more advanced than we know. and that boggles my mind when people say that shit.
Yeah, well, I served in the military, and I'll be quite honest with you. Oftentimes, military tech is actually a little bit behind because we find what works, and we generally stick with it.
We'll see.
You know.
Well, yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Well, I was on. I didn't serve. I was a civilian contractor on Camp Pendleton. But any civilian contractor that's been there 14 years, you end up running across a lot of Marines. And when I talked to them, it was that was a lot of what I heard. A lot of the technology wasn't. It was almost like we were waiting for the next best thing still that they told us they're going to have. But I know a lot of the stuff that Marines get, and or Navy, or anyone that's actually doing the fighting, like they lag on those guys. But I don't see how these like what do you call them, like skunk works, like those agencies, they're getting the money, they're getting the backing and all that kind of stuff, they're getting the technology that is way in advance, and leaving kind of people out to dry. And to me, the saddest part, it's a money thing. My ex, her stepdad, he's an engineering contract. I don't know exactly. I wouldn't even know what his exact profession is, but I do know his company was involved in contracts with military to design technology that they didn't have. For instance, they were trying. The last I remember, they were trying to make a bag, like you have the camel bags for water. They were trying, right. Yeah, they were trying to construct a camel bag, a little bit bigger, about twice the size of a regular camelback, but with solar panels, and not just not the rugged flat solar panel, but one that it can be the bag. It's flexible, it's a fabric more, or I don't know exactly, but right, it was supposed to be, more efficient. The next one,
but go ahead. I mean, if someone's going to argue that trying to combine solar panels with a camel bag is technology that's
no,
absolutely not.
It's
just innovations with current technology.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to. No, hell no. No, I was just trying to kind of giving you like a rough draft of where my thought pattern was with why I think that way. So, like I was saying, and then also like another one was actually a big one that I actually linked and found, a DARPA project, because he told me about it. It's kind of weird. So what DARPA is working on as of, I'm pretty sure right now still, but I could be definitely wrong because I heard about this about 6 months ago. They're trying to figure out basically a pill that doesn't dissolve. It's like basically it's a computer, and basically a Marine takes it when they're deployed. This pill supposedly is supposed to read every fucking vital sign in the body. Not only is it supposed to read every vital sign in the body, say a soldier gets shot in the leg. This pellet is supposed to be able to find its way down there, assess the situation, and say whether or not the blood loss will be sufficient enough to save, or is it worth saving. And that stuff is maybe a year old, and DARPA even talks about it. But
I don't know. That doesn't really sound feasible to me, though.
Exactly.
Because what if you have some sort of injury where there's only capillaries that are providing the blood to that area of your body? How is a pill going to get through a capillary, or burrow through like dense muscle flesh to be able to get there? It doesn't. Okay. On the face of it, that doesn't seem feasible.
So check this out.
I would say that's a tall tale, but you could probably develop some sort of little pill that you could insert under the skin or something like that to be able to transmit vital signs. I mean, that would seem more of a feasible option to me, rather than something you swallow and it goes throughout your body. And yeah.
Okay, so I found I don't even know. I can't. The worst part is I can't even show these videos because I have no idea where the hell that what computer I had when I put them on my computer. But I was watching it was the DARPA documentary, which also already tells you whatever they're telling you about, they've already used or didn't work or whatever. But they were talking about making like they were literally saying, we do technology that technology doesn't think about. It's too hard. Like basically things that you think are impossible, we do that. And I truly believe that anything we're thinking that is possible, they're developing technology that's beyond that. So basically, any technology that you can think of just sitting here now that may be the most advanced the military is using, it'd be far-fetched to think that DARPA is working on something that present, so to speak. Right?
Well,
So-
give me an example, like you mean something that kind of intuitively seems like science fiction, and you wouldn't
Yeah.
suspect that they would implement it.
Yeah.
Well, look at the microwave riot control devices.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the 1980s, you would have never suspected you could do that. But I mean, here is the thing about that. It's not really that far out there tech. I mean, we've been using microwaves for comms and to heat up food and all that stuff for like 50 years. It's just that it's been implemented in a very novel way that's very, very clever. So I think what DARPA would mean by that particular slogan is that we are taking existing stuff, but we're combining it in like novel ways that would seem out of the ordinary.
Yeah, but okay, but like for instance, like that the microwave gun, that's actually been around since I think probably the 60s and 70s. But they're only acting like it's new. It's a new thing, but they've been doing that for a while now. There's a lot of documents and legislations that talk about drones. Police forces, they want to weaponize them. But the issue is if you guys can weaponize them, then Joe Schmo can weaponize them. Because I guess somewhere in the laws, it just makes it more not that they're allowed to do it because cops are, but it changes things to a level that can't be regulated, basically. So that's what's trying to get passed right now.
There's like military level drones which are not on the consumer level by any means.
Yeah. Right? And or on the same regulations, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they are talking about that. They're already using drones for surveillance in certain border towns. I think it was Juarez. Was it Juarez? I don't know. I'd have to take a look at that article again, but they have now posted. They're not geostationary, but they're drones that actually go up there in the atmosphere on one of these border towns. I forget what it is, but basically it has an extremely high resolution camera on it, and it's constantly surveying this whole town that has an extremely high kidnapping rate. So what they were doing was they were helping law enforcement catch people by like literally seeing them kidnapping people, sticking them in vans,
yeah,
and then driving to their hideouts. So yeah, I mean there's certainly weaponized drones if you would consider that weaponizing a drone.
Well, the military aspect of it is kind of the crazy part because if you got there's a way to get to request FAA documents, right? And regardless of military, restrictions and I guess having to tell people or whatever, the FAA when they chart it, it's not the same thing. I think you may probably be able to touch on it better. It's kind of like the military has a signature on radar, but it's not a signature that FAA headquarters would see on a regular, like it wouldn't track it, but it know it was there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sort of makes sense considering like Well, military equipment that transmits or even transponds, they work on their own frequencies, right? So oftentimes military tech, it is going to be something that's outside of certain jurisdictions, and there's of course a reasonable reason for that, so that people don't listen in and you give away intel and so on. So yeah, there definitely would be something that's not on the FAA's radar.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
FAA, way it does it is, so if it has drones, so it says how many drone flights per day happens, and it's still a data sheet and it counts them all out. And I think it was 2015, 16, 17, there was an average of 2,500 flights, missions, or whatever you call them, per day. Now, I know they're not all surveillance, and most of them probably test and other, innovations, like just field tests or new drone systems and stuff. But it's kind of weird that they fly a lot of drones overhead. I mean, I know for a fact they fly more drones over the United States than they do over in Iraq. Now, to me, that doesn't make sense, because what's the point of doing that? Now they're putting.
No, I wouldn't doubt it, actually.
Yeah, I mean, those are kind of things like that I have an issue with, and it forces me and makes me want to look into stuff. Right, we hear you. We hear you, Tommy.
We've been talking a lot. Let's have someone else talk.
No, I haven't been keeping up with you guys. I don't know what the fuck you lot have been chatting.
We're talking about military and technology, and whether or not, because I believe technology is way advanced more than we're given. Whereas a lot of people that I've talked to feel that it's more in line, maybe a little ahead, but not as far as I think, and I'm thinking, honestly, in my opinion, I think we're at least 15 to 20 years.
Well, I mean, my take on that is that the private sector actually makes more innovations and developments in technology ahead of what the military contractors use, because again, the military systems, like if you've ever been on, let's say, a Navy ship, it is a total hodgepodge of low tech and high tech. So, for example, we have sound powered phones and reed switches in the freaking bilges, right? And those are 70, 80-year-old tech. But you go up to the bridge, you're going to have radar systems, sonar systems, indicating systems also, that are going to be at the leading edge. I mean, on some of the more newer platforms, of course, it's going to be more aligned with the leading edge of tech. So the military, I wouldn't really say is the cutting edge of tech, because again, the military basically finds what is very useful, what is very reliable, and then sticks with it.
Well, I see. I think I may have worded it wrong then, because I know definitely the military, they're not the technology people, and wouldn't you would consider like Skunk Works and what do you call it, Silicon Valley? That's private sector.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, because I think I worded it wrong, because they're definitely the ones that are doing it, but I think the military contracts them. And maybe even that's even hard to say, because I wouldn't know. Yeah. I don't know if I would say the military and the DoD are exactly the same in it comes to that.
Well, yeah, there's you can't really say the military is actual Department of Defense, because you got you got the Coast Guard, for example, that's Department of Transportation, and then you have the other branches that are part of DoD. So, I mean, yeah, you would say that the military is part of DoD, and DoD is the big umbrella that is the umbrella underneath that basically covers all of the other branches.
Yeah.
But, What was I going to say? Oh yeah. I was going to say you are absolutely right. See, any of the military tech that we have, I wouldn't say any, but the vast majority of it is basically contracted out. So it is the private companies that are really making the innovations for the military. They simply say we have a need for this condition and this in environment, right? And come up with a solution for us. So.
But yeah, well, what was it? Trying to remember the last thing I was thinking, because I remember earlier you asked me, for example, you know what the Patriot missile is, right? You know, the one they shoot up to intercept other missiles or something like that.
The Patriot missile.
Is it the Patriot missile? Maybe I'm miswording it.
I don't think so. The Patriot missile. Yeah, those. I think that is an intercept missile. Let me look it up here.
Yeah, pretty sure. But nonetheless, they have a it's a system called the Iron Curtain, I believe. That it's a new system. I don't even know. Well, by now I know they have to be using it. But basically, it was a system that you would put on a Humvee, and it was able to intercept an IED blast or like a grenade launcher. It was actually able to intercept the incoming projectile. It's actually fucking pretty sweet. I gotta see if I can find that real quick.
Okay, yeah. The Patriot is the surface to air missile, or the SAM system that the Army uses.
Yeah. Okay. So they made a system that basically, if I can find it, they made a system for a Humvee that does the exact same thing. It's fucking pretty badass. Here it is. And I don't care if I get a strike. I'll go ahead and share it on this page right here. Yeah, so it's supposed to shield the blast, so it doesn't even actually hit the Humvee. And when I saw this the very first time, it was... Now, what year was the date of this one? Because I don't want
to... Yeah, I mean, these weapons employ tech that's not really necessarily novel. It's just developed for them. But yeah, I would say research and development would definitely have a lot of cutting edge tech that we don't necessarily see in the military yet. Because what I found is usually technology is implemented rather slowly, because they have to research it, they have to come up with it, and they have to test the hell out of it. And of course, there's always budgetary stuff that you have to take into consideration. The military pays a lot of exorbitant money for the technology it uses. So, yeah, so we don't necessarily the U.S. military doesn't necessarily have what we could call the absolute cutting edge tech. A lot of times we keep platforms around that have been around for many decades, and we simply use them because, well, they like work. They save lives. They're very dependable, and so on.
Well, like
C-130, for example, the plane you just saw on that video.
Yeah,
the C-130 Hercules, man. There is no need for Boeing or anyone else to develop a better airplane, because it's so damn dependable. We've been having them around for just freaking decades. They simply make modifications on them. That's about it.
Well, okay, so like this is kind of the ones that kind of got me into like asking, because you said you served, and you're like actually people like I want to be asking, because I had found an article and a few documents about like the laser weapons that they started developing. And this is one of the things that like it made me feel like how involved in the military this technology is, because when I talked to somebody about it that said they had served, and I said they are doing laser weapons now, he said no, they're not laser weapons, they're laser detection systems. And I mean, by the time I had even asked that question to the person, Raytheon had already developed a system that goes on helicopters, and it was developed as a weapon. Like, and I was trying to explain to him like they're in the development phases for putting them on helicopters and planes, and he wouldn't budge. He wouldn't believe me for shit. Like he just wouldn't budge, and I couldn't figure out why he couldn't believe that there was technology he didn't know about. But at the same time, you've kind of already said, you know, you realize that there's stuff that the trickle down effect isn't really as close to the military as I thought it was too. So
yeah, it's really not. I mean, if they have some sort of beam, are you meaning like they're going to put a beam energy weapon?
well, I've talked about that, but that's for that's to actually do the, what do you call it, solar power in space. You guys there? Am I froze again? Alright, so it says my connection was lost. Hopefully it is just my connection. Let me make sure all my shit's right, because I'm going to have to start a new hangout. 1 second, please. Jesus. Just when things were gonna get good. Alright, so everything looks good, so I'm not sure why that happened. Oh, yep, there goes the dreaded signal. Let's see if I can get this room back up and running. 1 second, guys. Let me know in the chat if it's what it's doing, because as far as I'm concerned, it looks like it's buffering. All right.
Conspiracies.